I'm Liam Gill, and I'm a 17-year-old snowboard student athlete, and I'm newly a rookie to the halfpipe and slopestyle junior national team. My grandmother is Rosemary Gill, and she was born and raised in Fort Simpson, and you might even know who she is. And I'm proud to be a part of the Lidley First Nations. As a younger kid, I'd always be bouncing around doing every sport I can, and my mom always made sure I was signed up to new sports, trying new things. Skiing, doing gymnastics, soccer, school volleyball or school basketball, playing hockey, and then once I skied for a couple years, we'd go out with the family, and I'd always see that my dad was like the only one snowboarding. And I think every kid kind of idolizes their dad. So I wanted a snowboard, and then I asked one for Christmas when I was 3, and Santa laughed at me. There was just something different about snowboarding in school growing up. I couldn't really explain and understand why school was so difficult for me. I found out that I have dyslexia and a language processing disorder. Out of all the sports, I like playing all of them, but the freedom and the feeling I get from snowboarding to escape from all of my troubles at school and everything I'm behind on and my teachers bugging me about assignments. Snowboarding is always something where I get off school and then I have something to look forward to. First got my FIS license, and I was in my first actual contest, because as I was younger I was always in contests, but the FIS license you get points and then you go on a world ranking, and this was my first ever real event, and it was just a provincial. I never really intended in doing really well, I just was excited to do it, and then I ended up 3rd place, which was pretty cool. It wasn't my first nationals, but it was my first time in Sun Peaks for a national event. I ended up 1st place, which was super cool because I was 14 at the time. And it was pretty surreal, you know, standing on the podium next to people that I looked up to as a kid. Canada Winter Games was more so than just the contest itself. It was the experience of representing my province, you know, being on a team, meeting new people, trading pins, doing all the things that you would do on an Olympic event. I was fortunately able to get gold at the halfpipe event, which was something I'll never forget. I bit the medal and my tongue got stuck. And people said I was a rookie for that one. Closing ceremonies is also something I could never forget because there was a whole bunch of bands playing in a full stadium of thousands of people and bells ringing and people chanting Alberta. It was a pretty cool feeling. So there's like Canada Winter Games, Youth Olympics, and then the Olympics. You don't have to do all the events to qualify to get to the Olympics. It's just I kind of so happened to qualify for Canada Winter Games, and then I also got a spot for Youth Olympics. Youth Olympics was the first time I kind of got to dream a bit of my fantasy of being at the Olympics and getting to wear the Canada jacket, getting to go across the world to Switzerland and to meet all these new people that I've never met. Yeah, I was nervous, but I was more so, I was kind of over the moon, so I wasn't, you know, there was, like I'd stand at the top of my run and there's a camera in my face that I've never experienced before, and I'm like waving at it, not even thinking about what I'm gonna do. The camera guy's like right in front of your face, and I'm like going up to it and I'm like all crazy, and it was a pretty cool feeling. I'd say I'm pretty good at leaving the nerves behind. Every snowboarder feels that pressure. To be able to turn it down a notch and just focus on what you're doing is something you really need to be good at to compete, and to also enjoy it, because some people it's not for them. The pressure is just too much and they can't do it. Overthinking is definitely something that can happen where you're snowboarding and things are flying over your head, and then There's people, they call it flow state, where everything shuts off. You don't hear anything. It's just you and the snowboard going down and doing what you're best at. Training for me is showing up to the hill with intention to progress and learn new things and be the best snowboarder I could be. There's also another side of snowboarding where it's you go with your friends. You might learn something along the way. I'm lucky to have the passion I have for snowboarding, where if I can put my head down and treat snowboarding like work, it's actually something I love, so I enjoy every bit of the training aspect. If I were to show up to the hill, just me and my coach, I probably wouldn't be so progressive as if my friends were there cheering me on, putting pressure on, or showing me up, they're learning new things, so I want to learn new things, you know? And there's kind of that unspoken level of competition where someone will land something and you want to one-up it, and it just feeds off each other. As I was younger, I kind of traveled more in Canada, maybe to Ontario for a nationals, or I'd go to BC for a nationals. And then once I started getting on the more international level, my first time was in Sweden, and then that was my first international event. And since then, I've had a couple trips for training and competing. So the Sweden trip was my first ever international event. And that's the first time where I got to experience, my friends can stay up till 4 in the morning and watch me on a live stream, being able to compete with people who aren't even from my country. It was like my first time experiencing what I've been doing for so many years at a newer level. When I was in Switzerland for the Locks Open, there's like Scotty James, and when I went for the training camp, there's like Shaun White and all these big names, and it's crazy because you're a little kid and you see these kids on TV and then they're standing next to you, let alone you're competing against them, so it's pretty cool. I'd always watch the finals of these international events on my phone. When I was in the Locks Open, I didn't make finals, but I got to stand at the top of the pipe and watch everything in person. I've had a lot of shoulder injuries, 3 broken collarbones. The first 2 times I broke it, it was worst timing ever. It was literally the weekend before nationals, and I was super ready, and I've been waiting for it all year, and it sucked. It was just worst timing, and that was my first time really getting to experience like an actual injury in snowboarding and accepting that, you know, this comes with the sport. And then I also got to learn that you have to wait and heal yourself so you can be back stronger than you were, because the second time I broke it was as it was healing, and the second I could move my arm around and I felt good, I went snowboarding again, and then I broke it. And then the third time I broke it was actually in Sweden. That time was worse enough where I had to get clavicle surgery. Sometimes you have to remember why you love doing what you do in the first place. And even if you get an injury or you just have a bad day, you got to be able to turn off those bad vibes and kind of just sit back and be like, remember why you love doing what you do so much. When I'm not snowboarding, I like to think about snowboarding, because when you do it every day, you come home and you think about what you did that day and what you can do it better the next day. It's always something that's just in the back of my head, literally 24/7. So, and it's summertime and you can't snowboard. We like to skateboard because majority of snowboarders are skateboarders. When the season's around and I have spare time and events are going on for little kids and events, I do like to volunteer and spend time judging these kids and making sure, you know, they had the experience I had growing up. My goals and aspirations are to continue having a passion and continue loving it, you know, for as long as I'm alive, and making sure, just to make sure that the people around me, you know, love what they do. Having my mom support my passion, and just because I'm a snowboarder doesn't mean my sister has to be a snowboarder, you know. She loves doing school, she can go to school, and to eventually go to the Olympics and be professional. What I hope you guys take away from this video is that if you have a passion about something, to pursue it, and if you don't have it, then keep looking because you'll find it.